some of the pastors who I had learned from, not just Andy, because he's in a different category at this point, but even other pastors who had led a lot of large churches in the seeker sensitive movement
Yeah.
in general, they just didn't seem to get what we would say like what time it is. They didn't seem to
That's good.
understand what was happening in the culture. And so at that point, guys like me, I was young. I was in my 30s at the time. Okay, so now I'm 40. Me and other younger pastors, we're talking to each other like, what do we do? Like all of our
Mm.
quote unquote mentor figures
Yeah.
are like leaving us hanging here. They're not
Yep.
leading the way. They're not being courageous. They're not setting the example. And we've been kind of conditioned to, think of them as trustworthy, people we can follow, people we can learn from. And I think we were all realizing at the same time, like, I don't know, Seth, but like I think we got to grow up and put on our big boy pants and like be the dad of the family at this point because the guys that we used to think of as our spiritual fathers,
Yeah.
they've kind of dropped the ball, and honestly, as a spiritual leader, if I was putting it bluntly, it's like they crapped the bed. I mean, they rather than leading by example with courage, it's like
Yeah.
the spiritual grandpa pooped in his depends and dropped the ball when the church needed him the most. So it's like
Amen.
there's been a passing of the
Yep.
torch in America,
Yep.
so to speak. And don't get me wrong, a lot of these older pastors, after I had time to process through my frustration a little bit more, I feel
Yep.
like God did show me, hey, you need to appreciate the good things that they did. And they were leaders in a different era. And I've raised you and another generation up to lead for such a time as this. And I'm
Yep.
showing you things that you can't get mad at this previous generation for not necessarily seeing. And I
Yep.
realized like God's gonna judge them for how they led in their context. He's gonna judge me for how I lead in my context where He's appointed me. So I don't want to waste too much energy being frustrated, which I did for a while. I'll be honest. I mean, I was banging
Yep.
my head against the wall, and I need to focus on trying to encourage other pastors who are my peers and maybe new pastors and church leaders who are younger and coming up in the church. Hey, we're in a new
Yep.
era now, and Christians have to be clear. And being clear with people on the truth is actually the most loving thing you can do for them. It's the
Yeah.
truth that sets people free. And there are just millions of people in our country right now who are living in spiritual bondage because nobody
Mm.
loves them enough to tell them the truth.